Welcome everybody to the presentation. Before I start, a quick question to all of you. Who represents IT in the room? Welcome. And who represents OT, automation? So, the rest of the people, who are you? But then we don't have OT people, so we are in the IT world. Gosh, how these OT people are tough and difficult to talk to, isn't it? You had experience talking to the automation people, to the production engineers. Don't touch it, don't do it. It needs to work. It worked 20 years. Don't do anything. Well, I can give you a copy, and then you monitor it with your IDS, and that's your place to play. Well, the bad message is that's no longer enough. The good message is I hope I will give you some instruments and some products and solutions that will speak to them and that are OT native, which means they've been designed to work in the OT, the production environment, in a way that respect their way of seeing things. And now, will that work? Okay, so who has heard about the Purdue model? The ISO-OC model? You know, okay, so that's, well, kind of similar, but in the production network. That's how, in the old days, the production people have standardized the manufacturing environment, and it goes from, sorry, the laser doesn't work on the screens, from the bottom, which is where the production line is, where all the knobs and arms, etc. are, in electricity, all the transformators, etc. Then the equipment that is controlling it, PLCs, then the one that is controlling this equipment, human-to-machine interfaces, engineering workstations. Then next level is all the SCADA systems, distributed control systems, etc. All that is controlling production. And then there is a demilitarized zone, and then there is the enemy, which is the rest of the company, the IT world. So today we will be talking about the bottom part, the one where IT is normally not allowed in, because that's where TXOne plays its role. And why should we care? You probably heard many times, production environment, it's isolated. We don't have connection to internet. Only the people that control the production have access to it. It's secure. Why bother? Well, it's no longer true. But before I get to that part, one thing you need to understand is the reason why the people are so defensive on the OT automation side is that their priority is totally different from the IT priority. Have anybody of you heard about the CIA term in security? Confidentiality, integrity, and availability if confidentiality and integrity is kept. So that's the priority. In IT, we care about the data, them being kept confidential, the integrity of the data being kept, and if we need to sacrifice some availability, laptops are getting slower, sometimes something is false positive and we cut off somebody from something he should do, well, that happens. In production, it's the other way around. Availability is key, because if something stops or gets delayed, it's not only money that is being lost, it's lives that can be lost. Therefore, they are ready to sacrifice the confidentiality and the integrity just to keep the availability. So we need to turn all the concept upside down. But why to care about the production part and securing the production part? Why to care now? Well, if you look at the landscape today, and this is a slide from 2022, and I can tell you the 2023 was recently prepared. I didn't upload it yet. It's not getting better. what you can see is that if we look only at the production part and the OT infrastructure, we are seeing more and more attacks on this infrastructure. And these are state-owned attacks or dedicated, targeted APT attacks. But these are also ransomwares and any other kind of attacks that is proliferating very often also from the IT part of the infrastructure towards the OT, because those two words are with Enterprise 4.0 interconnected. And you can see here that it targets all the sectors: utility, water treatment, manufacturing, food and beverage, production, etc., etc. And it has many different attacks. It also attacks the supply chain, the digital supply chain, looking for the weakest point. And if you look at some of the analysis that has been done on the known and reported attacks that ended up in OT space and altered production, it's growing exponentially. So this is happening, and in our corner of the world we even see it more, because we are quite close to the strategic turmoil right now with Ukraine and everything that is dying. So everybody's kind of fighting with everybody. So that is one of the reasons why even the regulatory bodies, not only EU regulatory bodies, started to address that, to motivate people and enforce some actions in it. For us, it's the NIS2 initiative, directive, which is the update of the NIS1. And what is important is that it now addresses and targets much more verticals than before. Before it was just critical infrastructure. Now it's more or less all the infrastructure. It also focuses on OT cybersecurity much more than any other aspect. And if you look at the more detailed requirements, due to the time, I will not spend too much time on that. I'm happy to discuss it later on. You will see that it puts requirements in three major pillars, which is risk assessment, risk mitigation, and incident management. Already detailing many elements that needs to be kept also and addressed also in the OT space. So if we know that we need to do that, and we will have to do that, NIS2 will be legalized in EU countries in October the latest. By the way, the situation in Hungary, I think you are still in the legislation phase, as we are in Poland. So keep my fingers crossed till October. We also don't know what to introduce exactly. But it will be done and it will be enforced. So we need to address that. So how to address that? Well, the first natural way of seeing it is OT cybersecurity is the retarded kit of IT cybersecurity. I mean, in IT, in financial sector, etc., we are doing cybersecurity since many, many, many years. Yeah, and we got plenty of good tools to do that. So why just not port them all and implement in the OT space? And, you know, we are settled, as they are just, 20 years behind us. That's not a very good idea for a few reasons. The differences between the two worlds. So the first difference of the major ones is that what is a lifetime in IT is just childhood in OT. OT systems are built and deployed for 10, 15, 20 years, not for 5 years like in IT. So how many of you working with IT still see Windows 7? A few, not very many. Yeah. How many see Windows XP? Okay, time to move on. Or maybe you've got it in OT. Well, quite recently, like 3 months ago, there was on LinkedIn an advertisement for a recruitment advertisement for a job for an expert on Windows 3.1 for Deutsche Bahn. Okay, so that's the situation. And if you look at IT systems, the IT cybersecurity tools Windows 7 is becoming obsolete to them. Yeah, we are moving forward. If you look at the OT side, Windows 7 and older systems constitute approximately 60 to 70% globally. In our corner of the world, well, we started to build up our production a bit later. It's like 50, 60%, still quite a lot. The other problem is, in IT, we are fighting with ghosts. In a chaos of dynamic communication, data interconnection, etc., we are trying to find the indicators of compromise. We need for that more and more power, more and more data, so we go to the cloud. I mean, most of the solutions right now are going to the cloud, not only because that allows those companies to earn more money, because it's security as a service, but also because it's really required to provide the right set of tools. OT doesn't like cloud. OT doesn't want to be fully open to the internet. They sometimes are, by certification, isolated, or by legal requirements, isolated, air-gapped. So, again, those solutions won't work that well. Third problem is OT speaks a totally different language. It's like me trying to find a thread amongst people talking Hungarian. I can tell you, you talk about bombs or whatever, I don't know about it. And that's the problem of IT systems in most of the cases. They don't understand OT applications, they don't understand OT protocols. Modbus, Profinet, DNP3, S7, etc., etc. There is plenty of them. You don't understand them, you cannot protect. And finally, IT solutions are quite CPU intensive and memory intensive because they need this power to look for the ghosts. Whereas in OT space, we design things specifically for the role that they need to play. So you don't have spare power, you don't have spare memory, and then remember, 15 years lifespan. So these are very old systems very often. So again, if you try to introduce, IT EDR into those stations, for instance, control stations, we had a customer that told us, worked most of the time, but then there were situations when it was doing scanning or updating where for 1.5 minutes, the operator was losing control of the process because the SCADA station was freezing. Well, that's not something that can happen in OT space. So how can we address that? Well, that's the reason why companies like TXOne started to pop up. We focus from the ground up and from the beginning on just providing solutions for OT cybersecurity. And actually our story is, as I said, we are a child of two very good parents, Trend Micro, who is a cybersecurity expert in IT, and Moxa, who is the industrial switching and industrial communication leader, one of the leaders in the world. Trend Micro came to Moxa because they've been asked by Japanese manufacturing and production customers to provide them some protection for the lines. They've been asked also by Taiwanese firms like TSMC, who has heard about TSMC, the largest chip producer in the world, to provide something. They very quickly figured out that IT cybersecurity is not the way to go. They don't understand what they are talking about. So they invited Moxa and started working together. Very quickly, they realized that it's better to build up a new company for that than to have it as a small branch inside. That's how we were born in 2019. But we got all this knowledge, and today we are securing a lot of largest enterprises or production sites in the world. TSMC is one of them. That is a public reference, so I can talk about it. They use all our families to protect their production lines for the chipsets. But also automotive, and I can say that a few of those large companies are European manufacturers of automotive or European large suppliers, global suppliers of automotive elements. And the same applies to other verticals. And what do we do? Well, we focus on providing comprehensive set of tools to protect the production lines and the production environment. Starting from inspecting, so supply chain security, inspecting both what enters our shop floor, what leaves our shop floor, but also what is servicing our, or what happens within the maintenance part. Then we do endpoint protection, agent endpoint protection on all the control systems where it's needed. And then where you can't install things, we provide protection tools on the network level to limit the scope of the surface of attack. And we do all of that focusing the design of our products on some key elements for OT. So first of all of our products are ready to be deployed in isolated environments. You can totally disconnect it from the internet and still have it work and just manually update it. I'll talk a bit more about it. Then we support all operating systems. Windows XP, Windows 2000 Server, we are not afraid of that. We also understand OT protocols and recognize OT applications. And that, as you will see, help a lot design and define a security posture that is safe for the OT environment. We are as transparent as possible because that's for production also important. If you're not transparent in deployment, then it means it's a longer pause in production, a longer pause for the system, more to be reconfigured, more to be changed. Production doesn't like that, so we try to be as transparent as possible and have as low footprint in terms of either delays in the network or CPU usage, RAM usage on the assets themselves. And then, last but not least, we try to auto-learn as much as possible from the environment. And the reason for that is that if you look at OT networks, they are built up over the years. There is many protocols from different OT vendors that used to have their own protocols running in it. And very rarely there are people that have full documentation of it and can easily say this is what needs to be passing through, or this is what needs to be running on the station for the production environment to work. The rest is not important. If you can't do that, then you risk that you will block something that shouldn't be blocked. And then the end result is that you actually killed the production, not the attacker. So to facilitate that, you will see that when I go to the products, we are actually using the AI and other algorithms to learn and recognize as much from the protocols and applications as we can and present it to the security teams and to the OT teams for them to make the policies so that it's easier for them and nothing gets lost in the process. We basically have three families of product. The Element family, that's for inspection, and I'll touch upon it in a moment. Then we've got the Stellar family, which is the agent-based security. And then we've got the Edge series, which is the network defense. And then we just launched this year. This is still, let's say, an alpha, so we are not selling it, but we are giving it for testing to customers, partners that are interested in it, a kind of OT XDR platform that will combine data from all those three families and provide you a full life cycle, cybersecurity life cycle for OT. Going to the families, the first one, the inspection one. Basically, the role of this family is to provide you a totally agentless way to inspect your resources within the production network. If you have pharmaceutical companies, if you have many other manufacturers, they often cannot install anything on the equipment because it's under the SLA of the provider of the production line. Yet it would be good to at least regularly check if there isn't anything malicious that popped up in there. And the way to do that is by our scanner that is actually providing antivirus, anti-malware scanning, cannot be infected by itself, doesn't require any connectivity to run. It just needs from time to time to be connected to a network where the management platform is to get all the updates. And it will scan all the assets. If it finds any problems, it will flag it out, and it flags it in the application that is being launched from it, but it flags it also by a system of diodes. So even people that don't know things can very easily know or tell if there is a problem or not. And based on our policies, it can either just flag it, raise the alarm, and then the security or IT people will come and do the job, or quarantine these kind of files, removing the issue, removing the problem. It is also at the same time scanning all the assets, so it will report to the central management data on the hardware, the system, operating system, the patches that are being applied, the applications and their versions that are running on the system. So that gives you also a reporting capability on assets that are not network connected or are isolated, and you cannot grab it in other ways. And in addition to that, we've got a cleaning station called SafePort that can clean any third-party memory that will be used by maintenance people, for instance, to bring upgrades or any other files, some configuration files or schemes into the production environment. It's a secure, it's a station that can scan it very fast and give you the information if it's clean or not. If it's not clean, then it will not pass it through. If it's clean, you can, for instance, put it on an encrypted drive that is on Portable Inspector and make sure that it's securely provided to the end system. And even if anything is lost or whatever, it will not get to wrong hands. The second family of products is Stellar, agent solution for all the Windows-based industrial control systems, but towards the end of the year we will have also Linux support. The important elements of it is it can work totally in an isolated environment. It doesn't require any reboot to be installed, to be updated, or to be deinstalled. Sometimes the reboot is required if there is any other solution already installed and needs to be deinstalled first, any other antivirus system. Has a very low CPU footprint and low memory footprint. For memory, it's less than 500 megabytes of memory that is being used, and if it's tuned down, it can go to 100 something megabytes. So if you compare it to today IT EDR systems, that's not a lot. I agree. It supports the legacy operating systems. It also understands the OT applications, and you can find on our pages the list of it is approximately 8,000 OT applications that it is supporting. And what is important is, besides the antivirus and anti-malware function, what it gives is a second layer of protection, which is what we called the application lockdown. And basically what it does is, being installed on an industrial control system station after it checked with signatures that it is a clean station, it will learn all the OT applications, all the executable files that are on this station. It will look also on processes, and for instance, how native processes like PowerShell are being used by the operator, and we create a fingerprint of this station. Once this fingerprint is created, you can put it into a lockdown state where there is virtually a cocoon being done on the station, and any trial to change, modify, alter, delete any of the executable files, this is DLLs, exe, scripts, etc., will be blocked if it's not approved or learned during this process. It will also stop any PowerShell commands that are initiated by the wrong parent process or initiated with the wrong parameters that are not needed. So virtually what we do is we protect everything that is crucial for the production to be controlled. We block any other movement that is happening. Now, the beauty of it is that it also gives the power to the operator of this machine to have his own user credentials and at any moment turn on a maintenance mode. When the maintenance mode is turned on, the scanner is still working, so all the malware, etc., is blocked if anything happens. But it allows the operator to do actions that are normally not learned, so not approved, to upgrade systems, to install new elements of the system, and it will automatically learn these new things and put it on the approved list. So when the maintenance mode ends and is closed, the new version of the system is again in the cocoon, protected for any lateral things that are happening over there. And the last family of our products, which is the networking part. It mainly consists of IPSs, that's called HIPSs family, ranging from a very small one segment device to, that's not the largest today, the largest is twice the size, to 48 segments. What does it mean, segment? These devices work actually like an intelligent bump in the wire. So you connect it between two devices, you break up the cable, you put it in the middle. It's totally transparent so that, you know, a pair of port is used for that. And all the traffic flows through the device in a totally transparent way. So you don't have to change anything from the asset perspective, but he sees and analyzes all the traffic and can act on this traffic, and I will tell you what you can do with it. So we scale from one segment to 48 segments, 96 ports in different levels. On each segment, so on each pair of ports, we have a physical bypass, both optical in optical versions and copper for the copper versions, which means whatever happens with the software, we've got watchdogs, with the power of the device, or when we initiate the command from the management console, we can physically shortcut this device and everything flows through. So there is no risk of stopping the production, whatever happens with the device. That's one thing. The second part of the transparency, besides it's not seen from level 2, level 3 of the network perspective, etc., is that it injects no more than 500 microseconds of delay. So it's in fact doing its job in a very short time. So most of the production protocols will not also see it from a delay perspective. That's quite important. And what you can do with once this device is deployed, for any traffic that passes through it, you can provide, even in a flat, unmanaged network, microsegmentation. Microsegmentation on a layer 2 level. We recognize VLANs, we can do it on MAC addresses, etc. Layer 3 level, layer 4 level, TCP IP ports, UDP ports, but we also understand OT protocols. So for instance, if there is a certain OT protocol, DNP3, that normally is on this port, and we expect DNP3 on this port, and we start to do HTTP on that or something else, that will be blocked. And for the most common protocols, we even go into the OT protocols, understanding the functions that are there. So for instance, we can allow this particular controlling station to just read this particular PLC, but it will not have the possibility to write into it and change the values variables, and many other scenarios like that can be done. So we can actually very granularly confine the surface of attack within an OT network without changing the networking infrastructure that is underlying. Then the second thing we do is so-called virtual patching. We are having our own threat intelligence team. We work with Zero-Day Initiative. Who has heard about Zero-Day Initiative? Okay, so those who heard knows that this is quite a big community led by Trend Micro initially, but opened up, of people that are searching for vulnerabilities, oh, that's a tough word, in different systems. We collect those CVEs and we turn them into IPS signatures, and automatically or manually through patches that you do, populate our devices. And whenever there is a network traffic that is targeting this vulnerability and we are in front of the asset being attacked, we will block this traffic, virtually patching this equipment, giving time to do the real patching, and sometimes saving lives, because if you look at that, there is plenty right now of vulnerabilities that are being advertised or communicated by Siemens, Schneider, Rockwell, etc. And for many of them, they say, well, for this line of products, there will be a patch, but for all those lines of products, you need to upgrade your production line. And this is not happening over the day, over the night. So with that, you can protect these kind of assets even if there is no patch from the vendor being available. And finally, because we understand OT protocols, because we can look very granularly, we can also do the access control. So we can tell who can connect to which part of our OT production assets. And one platform to rule them all, SageOne, which will provide a full life cycle vision of it with asset inventory, risk management, risk assessment, etc. I will not get into it because of the time we've got. What I just wanted to show you very briefly is that if we take these three pillars and more precise NIS2 requirements, and we map it to OT, and we take our products, you actually get functionalities that will help you address each of those aspects within your OT network and provide the right set of protection that is required by NIS2. And with that, I would like to thank you for your patience and for your attendance. I encourage you to visit our stand. Sebastian over there has a demo where he can show you in action all of those things. And I also invite you to talk to Clico, and through Clico to us, if you would like to know more or get us present you in more details the solution, or even discuss your particular problems. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.